All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Haikyuu, Season 4, Episode 3. Okay. All right. So Hinata has to have a change in perspective.
Yep.
So he put all the heat to his head. He dug himself deep into those like big pillow, big things, whatever those were.
Right. He shut himself in the ball locker area shed thing.
Right.
And he has come to a conclusion.
He has shifted his perspective towards something else. He is seeing something potentially in a whole new light.
Yes.
The sun has come out.
Yes. Hinata had moment of clarity.
Moment of clarity.
Yes.
We are still at Shiratorizawa's academy gym, and we have Tendo and Shijima there. We've got a lot of perspectives kind of bouncing around, percolating in Hinata's head. Yeah. But then we've also got characters like Takeda, Tetsu, and Ukai that are back at Karasuno, kind of thinking about Hinata and this whole situation here.
Yep.
So depending on where our boy evolves, you know, this could be something that's quite interesting for when him and Kageyama reunite.
Indeed. Yes.
And we're probably going to continue the Hinata focus, but it'd be cool to see a little bit of Kageyama maybe towards the end of the episode or something.
Yeah,
like
that would be really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, to be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Oh, okay. I love this episode. I love this episode really good. So much. Yeah. This is the training kind of section of this, but because we don't have a coach specifically here, this is Hinata having to force himself to realize that he's not on the court, which means he has to look at this as if every player on the court, everything happening on the court is important. So he's taking this extra seriously in a very Hinata way that, you know, draws even the frustration and the of Tsukishima. Yeah. But that's going to happen at the end of the episode, you know, bleeding into the next episode, so we'll talk about that. Right. But what's really cool about this is that this is a mechanical thing in sports, Jacob, that I'm sure, like, you definitely, like, get. But, like, this is something that, like, I've personally had to do with regards to the whole shifting things. And I don't think they were actually shifting entirely to the balls of their feet. But that little step to basically replant yourselves to get your muscles all taut and get that elastic
body to earth connection so that you can then go somewhere.
Right. But it's also a thing of where when you naturally kind of rest your feet, you can end up a little flat-footed. You end up basically not having the ability to spring off rather quickly. And when they showed it in slow motion, it wasn't that he would go all the way to the balls of his feet where his heels weren't touching the ground. It was that once he had done that, then he could shift over to the left. It was like you almost floated over there.
Right. I wonder if it's something that might be different because of the fact that they're dealing with being in a
perfectly flat surface.
On a perfectly flat surface.
That has a little bit more friction than grass.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that specifically, it's something where it's dealing with impact and things like that, so you need to make sure that you're firmly planted. Whereas with, like, Frisbee and stuff, catching a Frisbee... Well, you have cleats, but also... and that's...
This has nothing to do with the hand stuff, though. This is with the legs.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, receiving a volleyball, for instance, probably takes a lot more stability than, say, catching a Frisbee.
Right, but the movement to the side, that's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the receive or the anything like that. It's just that actual movement there, that sidestep. That is something that, like, every, like, serious sport, like, as far as I'm concerned, maybe not baseball. Well, no, baseball I think would probably do the same thing as well, but needs to be able to do. To be able to go from I'm in my resting stance, because you can't be in ready stance constantly. You're going to slip into that every once in a while. So you do that when you need to in order to shift into your ready stance. And then from there you make a lateral movement with no, like, turning of the heels or anything like that. That just, boom, you just explode that way.
Yeah, and given that, they're dealing on a flat, hard surface, so they're wearing shoes, not cleats.
And in Frisbee, essentially what you would do is you would shift to the balls of your feet, make that lateral movement because you get that traction of dig in your cleats. But that lateral movement is so strong with regards to the acceleration you get from it, because you can literally just plant and from one foot launch yourself. And then when you land next, which isn't going to be very far away, you can then explode off into a run or what have you.
Sure.
So this is just really good stuff.
And I wouldn't be surprised either if it was something where, because it's in the situation of receiving, you also want your footwork to be different because you're not going to be making any runs, right? You're going to have your section of the back end, right, that you're basically in charge of. But then there are going to be other people that have their own sections and things. So you need to be able to move very quickly within your own section, but you also don't want to be doing any... You want to be accelerating and then stopping, right? You know, so moving to where you need to go and then immediately stopping in the place you need to be, right?
Yeah.
And not losing balance or anything like that.
Right, but one of the things that's good with this is that you need to have the lowest number of contact points with the ground in order to accelerate the speed at which you move. So both feet are moving in simultaneous bit there, so it's only 2 points of contact. It's the, or 3, I bet, yes. There's the connected bit there. There's the jump and then shift. That's the second point of contact. And then there's the launch to the receiving point. But the thing that we're starting to see here that Hinata's realizing is that based on the spiker's form, which I believe they were giving me the other thing that I've been taught in Frisbee, is that hips don't lie. If you want to know where someone's moving or where someone's going to be moving something towards, the hips are the strongest, biggest muscle in the body. So wherever they're pointed, wherever basically if it's a guy, wherever their dick is basically pointing towards, that's where they're going to be moving, or in this case, spiking the ball. So when Tsutomu sets up, his body is crossed a little bit, you know, looking straight with his hips, whereas his hips are actually diagonally kind of centered a little bit towards the middle of the court. So then when he spikes, he drives everything with the direction towards his hips, gets that spike with it, and it goes. And it's all happening rather quickly. Like, no one has the vision to be able to slow motion look at this in the way we do with anime, but it's great for us because then we know why that's important. But yeah, hips don't lie. That is a very real thing. And basketball as well. Soccer, I guess, would probably be even more important than that.
You know what it actually reminds me of?
What's
this
that?
is a very, like, obscure thing, but I remember I was at some kind of, like, you know, fair thing or whatever where they were describing basically how blacksmithing works.
Okay.
Like back in the old days. And one of the things they talked about, and they sort of, they showed where, you know, all right, now hold the blacksmith hammer and try this out, where basically you have to, say, hit the horseshoe or something like that, right? But they were like, now hit the horseshoe regularly, just holding the hammer, and then instead hit the anvil and then use the bounce of it hitting off the anvil to then hit the horseshoe. And it made it way simpler, right? And when they were mentioning, like, using sort of the bounce off of when the feet plant to then go into the whatever direction you need to go, that
it made sense to you.
Me of that. Yeah.
I think it also might be a safety thing in that you're talking about as well, where that little bounce basically reduces the risk of injury of quick movement without having yourself firmly established.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Hinata also notices you don't have to do that every single time. Sometimes you're just in the right position, or you only need to make a micro adjustment. I think he made a point of showing that Ushijima did that as well. He made very little very little movement.
And maybe like it could be that that's because Ushijima is such a big guy, maybe, so he doesn't, like, he's able to, his range is bigger.
Yeah,
you know,
this was the part here.
Yeah,
he just kind of nudged himself forward a little bit, leaned down, and he basically got as low as possible so that his arms would give a nice rebound.
Yeah, his left foot didn't really change position.
Right, if anything, it slid a little bit, but not that much. And that is probably because, you know, Ushijima is a huge guy, so he gets the ability to do that. I just loved the movement when we first see him adjusting here, this part here, because it's him basically coming down, ready to move, and when he plants himself there, oh no, he is a little bit on the balls of his feet, just a little bit.
I don't know, it's tough to tell.
It's tough to tell. He might be driving with the heel on the right foot. Yeah, no, it's just really smooth.
Yeah.
This is the part that just gets me excited about trying out volleyball at some point in the future. So I'm like, oh, I get it. It makes sense. Also, I really liked Hinata channeling some of the stuff he learned from another sport into volleyball. Now, this is basically like one of the closest things to volleyball there is out there.
Yeah.
And the fact that Hinata was doing this probably in junior high, so he wasn't doing this like when he was a kid, like a little kid, like an 8-year-old or something like that. I
mean, Hinata's always been a little kid.
That's true. But like, he's probably, what, 11 here, would you say? 12, maybe?
Yeah, probably around there.
Yeah, or something like that. And this is his, friend that's a little older, what have you, or a little taller.
I love how he's trying to remember what he said, and then he's like, "Want me to show you how to do a smash?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "No, not that. What was the other thing he said?"
Right. The
damn you, kid Hinata, for being too excited about the cool stuff.
Baka. Like the fact that once he says, "Whoa, a smash," I was about to say, literally, like, "No, that's not it."
Oh, gotcha.
And then he goes, "No, wait, that wasn't it." So you pick up both feet from the ground, you reset your form, and use the impact of your feet on the ground to propel yourself into your first step. Yes, so it is like the blacksmith thing,
which
because
I think
the impact hitting there then propels you, because maybe that impact gives you a little bit of bounce, so you do end up on the balls of your feet for like a little bit, and then that's enough to scoot off, because you wouldn't have any friction.
Yeah, what I'm guessing it is
against.
Like, so what do you think about this? That basically, it's so that you're on the balls of your feet when you're moving, but the idea that you don't want to just be on the balls of your feet, because then you won't have quite as much stability and control of where you're going, right? So you do that to basically get to the point where now you're going into the movement, and then you can be as flexible as you need.
Yeah. If I'm doing a full lateral step, I want to drive from my heel on the one that's the farthest away from the direction of the lateral movement. So if I'm moving left, I want to drive from my heel on the right only. I don't need it on my left one.
Right, because that one's going to be moving out. Yeah.
Well, that one's going to be landing first.
Right, yeah.
It's going to be the one landing with the most in-purposive foundation. So if anything, I want that one to be on the ball of the foot, so that when I land, it's a clean, just very fast. But yeah, then he was noticing the difference of the way people block and what have you. But this moment here, this is the moment where when you become a how would I say this? This is the moment from when you become a passionate player to becoming a passionate team player. When he says, "Up until now, I've only been chasing the ball, but the court is so full of information." This is very important for a team sport like soccer or ultimate frisbee. The court that they're on is extremely small comparatively to both of those sports.
Yes.
You only have a limited number of amount of space that you can move without interfering with the rest of your team.
Right.
So in some ways, you're forced to be a team player in volleyball, even more so than, I would say, these other sports.
And that probably also means that there's way more information to be read, because it's a lot more fine-tuned, right? Whereas on a frisbee field, for instance, there's way more distance, so like it's not as densely packed
so it
together.
ends up in being a lot of 1v1s in soccer and frisbee. But what's really cool about this is that this shift in perspective for Hinata is showcasing that this isn't just about where he shifts everything to being that everyone on this side of the court is your ally, so you can rely on them. It's that everyone on this side of the court and that side of the court is sending out little signals of what they're going to be doing. And if you have the perspective to be spatially aware of these things happening, this is some, like, this is when you get literally, I think it's called getting in the zone. You basically tap in to this intuitive, like, God mode movement thing. This is a real thing, y'all. Like, this is professional sports players have experienced this, where basically time slows down a little bit. I've experienced this like once or twice, and it wasn't really that strong. It lasts for like a second or two. And you basically become in tune with your body. You become hyper aware of where everyone else is moving, and you can almost like see where they're moving next. And then you just move effortlessly. If you can like tap into that like manually, and the fact that he's on his way to being able to do that, the first step is literally this. You have to become spatially aware of what's going on around you. You don't just chase the ball or the frisbee or what have you. you basically become one with the court. This is so freaking cool. Like, this is actually foreshadowing. It has to be foreshadowing for when Hinata basically becomes melding what they call the technical and the intuitive.
And that's
technical and the instinct, and then it becomes intuitive.
Right. And and that's just practice, right? That's with practice with pretty much anything, right?
Yes.
But in this here, it's practice in a way that he's not familiar with. Right. This is a different kind of practice. Because there's the actual act of spiking the ball, right? And he practices that plenty, right? He practices that all the time. He's gotten very good at it. But the idea that there are things that he can read into from the other players, his teammate, the enemy, and all that stuff, to make it so that he is setting himself up for success, right?
Right.
And if he can get that, then awesome, right? Like that's almost like battle precognition or something.
It is.
Like,
that's literally what it is.
Because you know,
it's a superpower. It's the closest thing I would say in sports to where you'll see. It is less present or less evident the less of a team sport the sport is. I would say baseball is unfortunately one of those examples where you're rarely going to see this because it's ball thrown, hits to batter. The batter basically determines whether or not anything team related is going to happen.
Yes, right.
So if not, then the defense doesn't get a chance to showcase this kind of thing there. But volleyball, I think, is the perfect sport for this because at any given point, it's not just that you have 3 people on a side that are contending with the ball once the receive is happening. It's the libero who's then realizing, okay, based on how the spiker and the setter connected there, the blockers have a real chance of blocking the ball in these areas. So I'm going to pre-move to those areas so that I can hit that ball when it rebounds off their hands at 60 miles an hour or whatever it is.
What this makes me think of is that it's basically taking a physical sport that is a thing of, you know, it's you physically exert yourself in the best way possible, taking into account your teammates and all that stuff, but it's down to your physical exertion and the sum of the physical exertions all over here, or maybe multiplication if you're Karasuno, beating the other teams, right?
Right.
But this here is basically turning it into more of a strategy game. Where it's like, okay, yeah, there's the physical stuff, and both sides will have that, right?
Right. You assume both teams are going to do their athletic part right.
Yep, exactly.
And if they don't, then either you take a point or they take a point.
Right.
Whatever.
But what if on that last like 10%, right? You could get an edge there in a place where a lot of the players probably won't. This is be playing that game,
right?
Even.
This is literally what they had to do against Shiratorizawa if they were going to even shut down Ushijima. Right. His athletic ability was so good, and his strength was so ridiculous that the only way they were actually able to shut him down was they channeled his spikes into a specific location, making Nishinoya have a shot of even being able to defend it.
Right, and that's a very 1-2 example.
Yes,
right?
Very simple.
This is more like one of those things where it's the 4D chess, 12 moves ahead, okay, take here, that, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see possibilities in just a court.
Right. And what this does is this brings you closer to your team in a way that builds synergy like you won't believe. Y'all, just the emotional high you get from clicking with other players on the field is so much better than you scoring or spiking a ridiculously cool moment by yourself and maybe the one person that said it to you or threw it to you or something like that. Personally, the coolest thing you can do in Ultimate Frisbee like this is when you drive it up the field with quick little synergized, synchronized movements with like 3 or 4 or even 5 people. It's so cool.
Yeah, the closest thing I can, because I'm not a physical sports person, the closest thing I can think of is like in a MOBA or in like D&D or something like that, where like everything's going to shit, nobody knows what they're doing, it's chaos, and then all of a sudden like you just fall into line, and then everyone's just working together perfectly.
The stuns are chained off perfectly
from the jaws of defeat. When you can see that the other team is like, we have this in the bag, and then suddenly. No.
Right. Someone drops a skill shot into this area, someone else pushes the team into the skill shot like as it's being dropped.
And also the psychological turn that can happen once you realize, wait, we might actually be able to win this thing. We're all working together, and then victory is assured at that point.
Yeah, so that was all just I wanted to say from that.
Yeah.
I loved Tsutomu getting just like won over by the Tanaka senpai equivalent for him there. I love that it was his grandma.
Pose like, oh.
I just love the feeling of being praised and adored. And he's like his grandma, like maybe a little sister,
or like a girl at school that he likes.
I wonder if this color scheme is very Kill la Kill.
Yeah, the costume
it's
does.
probably nothing specific there. I love how Hinata starts taking this so seriously that he's inspiring the other players.
Yep.
In some ways, making them a little bit uncomfortable, like Kindaichi and Tsukishima. But
yep.
That was great. We had a little bit of a random bit of nutrition, and he's like,
and that was wonderful. Like, because if you think about it, if you're going to be playing at nationals, right? Then food is something you should think about,
and also timing said nutrition.
Yep.
It's not just about eating the right stuff; it's when you eat the right stuff. And I am almost over the moon of the fact that they literally mentioned. Not exactly branched chain amino acids,
but amino acids. Yeah.
But you need to be drinking a sports drink with amino acid. This helps with muscle recovery.
Yep.
This is literally the muscle repair stuff that like needs to get activated by all the stuff coming in later.
And when you were playing with a lot more like casual people frisbee wise, right?
Oh, right.
And you would tell them about how you're playing like all the time, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And then you'd be like, "Ah, yes, I have this like post workout amino acid stuff," and then you drink it, and like. You just feel totally great.
Yeah, in like 30 minutes, like I'd be like, I can do this all over again. I know I shouldn't, but I'm gonna go home and eat. But like,
yep,
yeah, it's legit. And then we have Karasuno having their little practice match here. Although it seems like they went 5 sets, which is awesome. Everyone's learning serves, right? Okay, it's awesome. Tanaka's getting his jump serve in, and he's got a ways to go.
I love that, like the what he does with the ball beforehand. Like it almost thinks of like it makes me think of like when there's like a D20 roll that's super important, and you're like, okay, all right, this is it. Blow on it, everybody. I'm gonna do my thing. Oh, okay, no, natural
too.
Yeah, right.
What this reminds me of actually is Ichiro Suzuki from the Mariners, because he would do his little like batting ritual thing, and then he would put the arm on his. Yeah. And this just reminds me of that. That is just cute. It's like Tanaka. I love that because Kageyama, Tsukishima, and Hinata are not there though. The fact that what are the other guys? Narita and Kinoshita, they're getting opportunities to play, which is nice. It's cool. We got a little bit of a taste of Kageyama in that he's still having to remind himself that he's not a setter. He has to, play with the team and stuff. It's just he's amongst gods, and he's maybe has a little bit of a, maybe needs to just take a back seat for a little bit, and that'll be good for him.
Let's actually go back to that part, because I thought that he actually was a setter, but the thing is that he was expecting to have Hinata there for the super freak quick.
Okay, I don't know if that was it, necessarily. Because the guy that set it immediately for his team over here, this guy, the yellow... actually, no, hold on. No, he's on the other side of the court. So Kageyama might actually be the setter.
Right, but they hadn't even, like, jumped yet. And... oh, man.
Right, so it's again an example of like a better example of Kageyama not really being the king in this case.
Right, because that was accidental, but
right, but it's just like not matching his spikers and stuff.
Right,
but they're showcasing how good everyone here is, in that they all naturally do the things that Hinata's figuring out how to do.
Right,
their movements are all perfectly calculated, perfectly timed. Yeah, this is the set of the stage of the gods, basically.
Right. Yep.
I love the little bit with the assistant coach being like, I do some analysis here. And then once he says, it's probably because he's empty. And what he means obviously is that Hinata doesn't have bad patterns really that he needs to unlearn. So it's not Yoda needing to say, you must unlearn what you have learned. It's actually that Hinata has a lot of open potential to receive good coaching or good practices. So he's like, wait, empty was maybe a bit too harsh, because it's not that he's completely devoid of skill, right. So then he apologized. Sorry about that, Hinata. And then Hinata's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
like,
the ball boy who's just in the zone, right, has the assistant coach where it's just the ball boy. It's just the ball boy. He's there, right? And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And he bows. He bows to the ball boy. Like,
Tendo was amazing this episode. His little like, eh? And then also just be like, well, are the monster children still working hard?
Yeah.
Monster children. And just the zombified like,
And Shijuma's just like, yep, that's about right.
That's about right.
And then he's
humans, like, I mean, you're basically a monster yourself. I wonder if he'd be mad if I asked you if he's worried about his brethren. It's just like, what is this? I love how much Tendo loves Hinata and Ushijima. It's just
he's such an antagonizer, and I love it.
It's wonderful.
Yep. But we're getting
Kendaichi's also a little a compliment, being like he's amazing too.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I like that Hinata didn't pick up on it either.
Oh yeah, well, like, he's empty,
But yeah, and then Tsukishima wants to talk to Hinata.
Yep,
because he started to compare himself to Hinata.
He's done before,
as he's done before.
But he's in a different place now.
He is.
So what is this conversation actually going to be like?
It could be a mix of both of where he's been in the past
and new,
and new stuff. So I want the sun and the moon to come together and not being about eclipsing each other or what have you. Just it's amazing, y'all. Haikyuu being back just fills me with so much love and joy, and I just feel so full right now. It's so fun.
Good episode.
Good learning and development from Hinata. This feels like the best parts of season 2 being brought into a point in the series where we need this kind of internal focus on at least 2 of the characters. And right now, Hinata being the main character gets the first bit of that focus.
Maybe as a means of acceptance, once this training camp is over, they'll eat a bunch of barbecue, and Hinata will be included.
Meat is God! Meat is God!
It could happen. You never know.
Making me hungry now. So y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion, we're watching these seasonally.
That's right.
So you can get involved with our Discord community, checking out the links in the description below. You can watch full-length timer reactions there as well. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
But yeah. Check that out, get to the discussion side of things there, and you can talk with us. I love Haikyuu. I'll be in the channel there.
And also, I did a thing, in case you don't know about this, I wrote a novel. It's a sci-fi novel. It's really cool. It's called Battle Lines, and it's for sale on Amazon. Link in the description down below in both hardback and ebook. So if that interests you, make sure to go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.